Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're doing okay, and I hope you've had a good weekend and a good last week. I do apologise for not being able to get anything out last week. I had an absolutely manic week with work and looking after my family member, but I've managed to do a bit of research and look into some of the things I want to talk about, because there is some quite big things I want to go over today. But first of all, guys, if you're new to the channel, a subscribe would be absolutely amazing. We're actually very close to 4,000 subscribers, which is pretty damn amazing. So thank you to every one of you that hits the subscribe button for me. We are, as I said, we are aiming for the 10,000 mark by the end of the year. Hell of a target, but I believe we can get there. That would be absolutely insane if we can get there this year, and I appreciate every single one of you coming back and watching the videos and subscribing. Eventually, once things cool down in my life, which hopefully won't be too long now, and we'll be able to get some more fight footage again where I can actually go back out and start doing fleets again, because I've been that busy. I have not been able to do many fleets at all, none at all recently, unfortunately. I don't think I've even undocked in the last week or two due to real life issues. But in this video we have deception, we have some backstabbing, which I suppose is the same as deception. There are some big kill mails to look at. There are some status updates, some soft changes. There are big movements from alliances moving sides, essentially, which is quite interesting. So stick around, guys, and we'll dive right into it. So first and foremost, as we normally do, we are going to start looking at Z-Kill. So this is a Fraternity avatar that died in the Veil of the Silent to Hard Knocks citizens. Looking at the related this, it looks like this thing was, again, I have scoured Reddit and tried to find trying to find what actually happened here, and I've tried to contact a couple of people on here with no availability of anyone being able to contact or respond or get back to me on this. So unfortunately, I wasn't be able to get the exact information about what happened, but I can give some speculation on it. It looks like, to me, it looks like there was an avatar that was tackled, which then then escalated into a dread bomb from Hard Knock citizens. Pandemic Horde, more Hard Knock citizens, the initiative, and it looks like Brotherhood of Spacers, looks like just a mixed Black Ops group, which came in to nuke this avatar that had managed to get tackled, and Fraternity responded with a few a small cluster F of stuff coming to try and save it, but with that many dreads on field, it wasn't going to be saved because they didn't have any force auxiliaries on grid. They had no logi on grid at all, which is interesting to say the least. There's no logi at all for that Titan against a Black Ops group and a load of dreads. Notice how there's only one faction dread, and there's the normal standard variation of the dreadnoughts, which are pretty much quite cheap and disposable in the grand scheme of things. So there was 198 billion ISK destroyed here, because they also killed the heavy interdictor, which looked like probably the Sino to bring these guys in. I don't know if they managed to blap that before any force auxiliaries made it in to save that, which I imagine that's what happened. As soon as the Sino comes up, this lot has to blap it to stop any logistics coming in for this avatar, and that essentially went down. And it dropped 7.3 billion ISK and 195 billion ISK lost, and which is quite a lot, but it just shows that it doesn't matter where you are in nullsec, there is always a dread bomb logged off somewhere. And essentially they found out it doesn't look like he was moving like anything. That doesn't look like there was moving anything in particular, so it wasn't a suitcase, like it wasn't full of ships. It just didn't even have much didn't even have a spare fit. So I don't know what he was doing that. It could have possibly been a bridge that had gone wrong, accidentally jumped to a Sino, or jumped to a Sino and got tackled before he was able to tether or whatever. I don't know. If anyone knows the story behind this avatar, please in the comments let me know, and I will update the report in the next week's video, as I do have a couple of updates on reports that I made last week. So there is a Hell from Wholesale Industrial Supply Co. Reloaded in Providence. Now this thing got hit by a Nyx and a Black Ops group by the looks of it. The Nyx was brought in for obviously the insane amount of damage that it can do. That to me looks like a standard, almost a standard fleet fit. It's got the network sensor array, a cloak. Okay, no, not standard fleet fit then. That's not even a sentient one. Okay. Anyway, not sentient, syndicate or whatever. But what else was that? A tactical Galaxier recloner? Okay. You do not see, just for the record, you do not see many supercarriers with that fit nowadays at all. It's kind of like a gimmicky module. No one really uses it because it allows people that die in system to instantly reclone and jump into a ship that thing's carrying in its fleet hangar, which if it's a battleship fleet, not that many. But by the looks of it, some kills having this item. 1, 2, 3, 4. A Titan, really? I don't know about that. But yeah, it's not many has happened. Not many have had it, to be honest, by the looks of it. It's kind of a module that's a bit of a gimmicky thing. It's not really used. And that's why it's not widely spread, because the usage of it is very niche. But that thing obviously died to a Black Ops group. Again, closest was a planet, so it could have been on a citadel, or it could have jumped to a citadel that it couldn't dock in like a Fortizar, and didn't manage to tether up in time before the Sino came in and Dreads and Super and loads of Black Ops stuff came in. So it's good to, I mean, it's always good to see Supercarriers dying. They're dying every week. Multiple of them die a week. Not as many as it used to be when Bombers Bar were a huge thing. When they were all out in space, ratting anomalies and stuff like that. Not as much as then, but still, it's good to see them dying now. There's also a Nyx from Pandemic Horde in Malpay, which looked like he was running a Concord Rogue Analysis Beacon, which is, in layman's terms, is a crab beacon. It's for those of you that aren't aware of what crab beacons are, you anchor a beacon in space, a bit like a mobile tractor unit. You link to it for 5 minutes with your ship. Only dreadnoughts, carriers, and supercarriers and titans can drop them, and you are then anchored in place for 5 minutes. Regardless of what you do, you are stuck in position for 5 minutes. Then rogue drones start warping in. They're not bad money. I've done a few of them and they're not bad money altogether, but you do very rarely get officer drone modules, which are quite expensive. But it looks like he got dread bombed, and at that point you are knackered. Black Ops gang from Goonswarm, and a Black Ops gang from Goonswarm, and it looks like dreadnoughts are mixed in as well. Some standard dreadnoughts, not anything fancy apart from a few Zenitras, which were on maybe ults. I don't know, maybe ults. But yeah, a lot of Goonswarm guys out in Malpay now, which are good because there's a dread bomb and there's a lot of Black Ops stuff going on now. So now that we are living next to them, you're probably going to see more stuff like this every so often, and with supercarriers and dreadnoughts getting destroyed at crab beacons like we have in our space. I'm not saying we don't have them in our space whatsoever, because we do lose stuff in our space, which is it's normal. It's null-sec economy. Now the next one is quite interesting. There was a Satoyo in the Delve Aquarius, well, in Delve in particular, but in the Delve Aquarius conflict, we've got a bit of an update now. So from Drake Lair, which I believe is the Streamer Coalition, they had a Satoyo, which is the structure that you can build supers and titans in. Also is the best one for industry. So that was destroyed. It was reinforced into hull, and then it turns out that their friends' only fleets actually didn't form for it. Let me bring up my eye in the sky and see if I can find the actual information on it. Today we formed a whole time on a Satoyo. We formed around 5 to 600 people, over 600 if you include the cap fleet. We were heading on to field today where we were outnumbered or not, thinking it was going to be a nice fight, but 20 minutes before the whole timer, an enemy cancelled their fleets, but they got a nice Satoyo kill mail. So 20 minutes before he was about to come out and reinforce, they decided not to show for it and therefore lost the Satoyo. It is a heavy loss mail to soak up. 114 billion is not, if you're a big wealthy alliance like Fraternity, Horde, Goon Swarm, Initiative, that's not a great deal. But Galaxier, they're not a massive alliance. They've got 75 members, and I don't know how many of those they can actually absorb, how much stuff like that they can absorb, because that is a hefty loss for 75 member alliance. That's a lot to absorb, especially when these rigs are most like over half of the kill mail. It's a heavy cost to absorb because the Satoyo is only 22 billion and the core is what, 10 billion. So one rig was more than both of those, the actual ship itself. So they must be doing some manufacturing here, like manufacturing efficiency, and so manufacturing and lab operation. That was unfortunately a heavy loss for them. And just on the information here, so on Reddit, I hate going to Reddit because there's so much propaganda and misinformation, and someone says something about, I don't know, a fight or whatever, then it gets misconstrued, and so take it with a pinch of salt. Whatever's said on Reddit, take it with a pinch of salt, which, as you can see across the top, I do have quite a few Reddit tabs open, so again, all information may not be accurate. I'm just going by what people have posted and taking it with a pinch of salt. So essentially, no fleets, no defense, not even a token effort to defend the Satoyo, and unfortunately, it just died. Unfortunately, their friends didn't come to help them either, which, but we do have someone from Only Fleets. The owners of the Satoyo decided they did not want to defend it due to conflicts with a long-arranged meetup that was scheduled for this weekend, and lots of their members, including leadership, were away. Everyone called max CTAs to defend, but their owners called it off a few hours before. Nice attempt at spin, though. Interesting. See, that's the problem. Someone put here, and then someone instantly says it's spin. So, you take it with a pinch of salt with Reddit. Now, I do, just before we do move on, I do obviously have to cover Delve and Aquarius, what's going on. So essentially, the Phoenix Coalition have captured a total of 9 systems from Drake this week. On the 14th, we had a Fortizar whole timer, Aquarius from Only Fleets coming out. We had formed, but it did not take the fight because there were overwhelming numbers on the Only Fleets side, around 400 plus nightmares, along with a couple Minikawas and a couple revelations. While we kick out Drake from Delve due to less resistance, it looks like the push for Aquarius is where it'll get bloody. We didn't take the fight for the Fortizar, but we did reinforce 2 Fortizars in Delve, and we also have 2 whole timers, Fortizars, and a whole timer Satoyo coming up. This was sent just before the Satoyo died. Let's just have a quick look at Delve. So Delve is now all this space that was Drake Glare here is now Siege Green. Still some Drake Glare on the entrance to Delve, but they've got a quick exit to Iridia here, which would, where was it now? No. Which essentially shows that, let me just bring this up now, hang on. Which you can see, as they are right next to Iridia, there are some, mastodons, what's it called? Deep space transports, that's it. These coming in and out, and, it's kind of like, I think Drake Glare are done in Delve, if I'm honest. I think they are done, and if they can't get their coalition or friends to back them up fully, I think Drake Glare will not be long for Delve, to be honest. Zerg Reborn are still there, and they did get their Sov reinforced, but that was not taken. And by the looks of it, Luna had their Sov reinforced as well. Let's have a look. Is it Alliance? 7-man Alliance? Surely not. Yes, it is. A 7-man Alliance is holding that space in Delve. Interesting. Zerg Reborn only. I'm pretty sure these are holding alliances for the other groups that are fighting for them. So I don't think that's the real numbers of that group, but I believe that's a coalition, and they are using the alliances as holding alliances for the structures and stuff like that, to just to limit access, who can get access to them in case of AWOXs, for example. Siege Green are pushing into there whilst also holding actually no, sorry, I'm sorry. They moved out. Yeah, they've moved out of Aquarius and moved into Delve now. Siege Green have, which is an interesting move. And they've got weapons of mass production are in the bottom here. Still got a couple Siege Green systems here. Not as many as they had before. But they still have their space there. And they have some in Delve as well, which is also... that's what they've just taken. I don't know if they're going to be moving from there to there, but if anyone knows, let me know, please. I'd like to be able to keep as up to date as possible as I can with this. I do have a couple of people feeding me information, so I do try and pick what I can out of that information that's clearly not spin. And so essentially, it looks like Drake's Lair are going to be getting evicted, according to my sources here. Drake Lair are getting evicted from Delve, and I reckon these guys are going to be going with them as well. So all this will then be up for grabs. Probably Phoenix Coalition will, I imagine, prediction, Phoenix Coalition are going to take this and this and move down from up north to here. I don't know. That is a potential in my eyes. Right, so now we got move on to some other details. So we do have to go over this kill mail. So it was a Goon Swarm Hell in Derelict, and it was not fit for it was fit for travel, with hyperspatials, cap mods, ECCM to stop it getting scanned down as much as physically possible, and align rigs and a cloak. Purely a travel fit, nothing else. And it looks like it's got a cargo full of stuff. Yes, full of stuff. So there is quite a long story to this one. I love the title. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. But yeah, you know the meme. So essentially, he was moving it from one side of the space to another, and he managed to get it from he was great. A Malin to Kerying. I'm not even going to try and pronounce all these. So it looks like he got it out of asset safety, and he was moving it across to home. He probably should have asked Alliance members for some help, but it was, it is what it is. Now, personally, before we go into this, the best way to move something like this is get it out of asset safety, have your Sino ready to go about 20 seconds before server shutdown. You undock your ship, and while you've still got that invulnerability window, you jump to that Sino, then server goes down. Boom. And you rinse and repeat every jump you go for on the way home. And that basically prevents people from finding where you are and jumping out. It's and jumping on you. That's essentially what was that's basically what you should do, and that's not what happened here. So he managed to get tackled and died again. Died in it, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I mean, he had fun moving it, and he did get 75 Black Ops gang, 75 Black Ops. God, words are hard today. 75-man Black Ops gang landed on him, which, yeah, hell is not going to survive that. You can't fight against that, essentially. I've been hunted by the same guys when I was moving my hell, but I had newts up here to cycle on the heavy interdictors that when they point you. So you line out, and if you get hit, you just nuke. As soon as that's gone, boom, you're off. Making safe spots all the way, and then you warp and cloak. That's how you avoid. I've been dropped twice in my hell moving it through low sec, years and years ago when I got it, and you can do it if you're going to do it like that. Just make sure to have newts here, and then all your ECCMs while you're getting, moving around. But yeah, so that's the hell. Now I do have a couple Python kill mails to go over because I got the details wrong on the Fraternity one. Essentially, I did find the post, but it was basically that the long and short of it was that guy had been baited out. He'd been baited out multiple times, and then he realized, he was actually going to be dropping. So they baited it out, waited for him to jump in. He jumped in as expected, and then they turned everything and nuked it. So perfect way to bait out a Python. So that's one of those down. And then another one from Horde died the other day. Now, there is a guy there who's actually quite wealthy in the game, and he's known by quite a few people, called Blue Melon. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I don't know if he was dropping with them. By the looks of it, it's all snuffed out, and I don't know if he'd been dropping on stuff with these guys, because why not? Blue Melon's had multiple Alliance tournament ships, so he'd obviously been dropping on stuff with these guys, because what I'm about to show you is a little backstory to this. So about the second Python. So essentially, Blue Melon asked him to eject, and it looked like they'd been friends. They'd done a lot of stuff together, and Blue Melon asked him to eject instead of killing it. And yeah, they just wanted him to try and steal it off him. So they'd got him jumping and doing drops with them, and after a while they must have changed their mind and turned around and be like, okay, no, we want that ship. So when they dropped, they scrammed him and told him to eject or it dies. So naturally, as any normal person would, you let it die. You do not hand something like this over. It can be a kill mail. It's only 1.2 or 1.3 trillion. It's not going to be the end of the game for you. And yeah, basically, look, I really don't know what that section's about. Friends deception. Okay, so there's a long story here, and basically, Blue Melon obviously befriended him and said, yeah, you should come and drop with us, it'd be fun, and then tried to steal it off him. Obviously said no, so they killed it. So that is why you've got to be careful when flying with people that you may know them, but if it's in low sec, be very careful about who you're dropping big expensive ships with, because they might just turn on you and want to steal the ship off you. And I think personally, I've saved one of the bigger announcements and biggest announcements to last. In a weird random turn of events, Pandemic Legion has left Pandemic family. So they've left Horde, Northern Coalition, they've left Slice, they've left drone regions. So they were around here, I believe. Pandemic Legion, let's have a look. Yeah, they were in the middle of Malpay. They only had 8 systems, which is nothing really, but they've never really been a big Sov holding alliance. Back in the day, rentals was the thing. They probably were. Back in the day before all these alliances got too big for them to handle, kind of deal. And when they had a lot more active members. And so there is 2 stories to this Pandemic Legion move. I believe some of them wanted to just leave and move away from here because of, I don't even see. I've looked on the Reddit posts and there's no real definitive reason as to why. That's just a shit post about it. That's just a shit post video, a meme. But I was looking at this. And there's no real, apparently it was due to inactivity and fleets participation and stuff like that. Apparently that's what, that's what's been said. which wouldn't surprise me because I don't believe there is a huge amount of PL actually active still. So when we look at Pandemic Legion, they have, that is their active player base this month so far. Shall we go back a month? I mean, they were getting kills. They were getting kills, don't get me wrong, but they're not terribly active compared to what they were like in the older years and years ago, back in the olden days. But is this Corelli Corporation is probably their most popular, their most active corporation. It's only out of 2,500 nearly. There's 148 members, and that's probably where most of their activity is, which is interesting. But there's a lot of moving now going on where they're getting out of Gemini and they're getting out of the area and they're moving on to join Winter Coalition. So they're going from here over here. And I don't know what the reason for the move was. If someone from Pandemic Legion wants to update me, obviously, and give me a legit reason as to why, whether it's what you've been told by your leadership or what you've heard within the Alliance. Obviously, any information that gets told to me about events or stuff like that stays completely confidential. I don't tell anyone who said what. I'll just say it's from that Alliance. But I am really interested to see why the sudden move from Pandemic Family to Winter Coalition. I don't know if it's because Pandemic Legion love nuking Provi and Winter Co are down in Provi nuking stuff. I don't know if that's the reason. Could be a reason. I don't know. That's just sheer speculation. But there's not been much activity in the last in the last 7 days. Not a lot. I mean, not a lot at all. 280 kills for an Alliance in 7 days is not a great deal. And yeah, so I'm really interested to see what's going on here, because there's no there's just memes and stuff like that. I mean, PL have been around probably since like the very early days of let's have a look. Founded 2007, yeah. So like the first 7 years of the game being around, they've been there, and I don't know if there's any bad blood or if they just wanted a change of scenery and they were fed up of constantly fighting goons. I don't know. They're gonna, but all the best to them in Winterco. Obviously, you know, new areas, new opportunities, new ways to kill people. Great, all for it, and hopefully it suits them better where they are now for what their Alliance needs or wants. So, obviously, you know, wish them all the best on that one. And this was announced. Please welcome Pandemic Legion to Winterco. So that's cool. And they've been welcomed with open arms, which is always nice. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what all of this is. But yeah, so the last couple things I want to go over before the end of the video, because I know it's getting on a bit. And last thing, you lovely bunch of people, there's been a couple fights in low sec. So one was in Abazon and one was in Arna. Now, essentially, it is just a lot of stuff dying. But this one, essentially, Deepwater Hooligans have got a Metanox moon drill. Don't know if it's on a good moon or not. It might be like what Snuff have, which is content generators, like the Forters are. People reinforce it, and then they come and defend it, and it might escalate, and it might get a dread fight, and so on. Which is kind of what looked like what happened here. Again, it was Fraternity, Deepwater Hooligans in it, and Mimitar Fleet Associates, and some others, I believe there was. I believe there was a few others, smaller groups as well. So they in it brought an Abaddon fleet, a Mercurial fleet. I wonder if they're 1,400 Abaddons. No, they are not. Oh, that would be you know what? I do wish the 1400mm howitzer Abaddons come back. They were baller. They had a hell of a tank, and they've just, because they don't have a bonus to guns, or do they? I don't even know if they do anymore. Nope. I don't know. I don't know if they do. I'll have a look into that in the future, but I don't think they do have a bonus for guns still. But yeah, so this one was fought over a Metanox moon drill. Again, Fraternity brought Barguests, Nightmares, Dreadnoughts. They lost all the faxes, but that'll happen when the Mercurial fleet's on grid. Got Archon, some more Dreads, load of Zenitras. It looks like most of the Zenitras most of the Dreadnoughts were sort of spared a little bit. A couple Dreadnoughts died, but it looks like most of the TFI fleet was destroyed. Vindicators were destroyed. They probably couldn't catch up and tackle the nightmares enough. So, to be fair, 3 Dreadnoughts, 3 Apostles, and some faction battleships is a good way to go. It's a good fight all round. But they did lose the Metanox Moondrill, but again, 1.7 billion loss to generate a fight of like nearly 200 billion. That's a good trade in my eyes. And it was only an hour and a half long as well, so that's pretty cool. But they did lose the drill, and again, I don't think they were bothered about the drill, if I'm perfectly honest. And depends what moon it was on. I don't know what moon it was on. I think there are ways to find out, but I'm not that interested in finding out if it was just a good moon or a bad moon or whatever. But again, Fraternity, I've got a big presence down in Metropolis. So the Dreadnoughts and whatnot. So there's a lot of fighting going on down in Metropolis region and down in the southern parts, which is actually pretty cool. So there's after that one, was that one before? So that was 2 days ago. This one was 6 days ago. So this one was before, which again is some Space Madness and Blue Meanies. Not sure who they are, but I saw that they weren't affiliated to these guys directly. But again, Mercurial fleet from Deepwater Hooligans with some Dreadnoughts on grid. They did lose 3 Dreadnoughts and an Apostle and 2 Vargas. Interesting. And again, it was on a Citadel, so it might have been another bait Citadel, another bait structure to bring out. These guys might have just been there to ref it and destroy it, and it didn't go down well. But again, it could Deepwater Hooligans. It could be a content generation thing. They let it get reinforced once, let it get reinforced twice through to armor, and they think, oh, they've forgotten about it. Right, let's commit to getting this hull kill. Then boom, suddenly Dreadnoughts. So this is the good thing about lowsec. Your caps are relatively safe from being tackled and held down en masse, because there's no bubbles, no interdiction spheres or anything like that. I know they are the same thing, but so you can get your caps in and out, but at the same time, there's so much more of this. There's so much of like bait structures from these guys, and it generates fights. Like some of them are like that 1 trillion-esque fight with Fraternity, Snuff in it, and that was over Fortizar, which is what, 30 bill? 25, 30 bill, and it generated over 1 trillion in kills. So that's these. I mean, I'll try and keep track of these, but that was looks like it was a really, really fun fight. But guys, that is going to be it for this week. And we are going to be looking at some more stuff going forward this week. I know I said I'd have an interview sorted, but I haven't. My times have not matched up with the people I'm interviewing. So I'm trying to arrange. It's more likely going to be weekends nowadays. And then it looks like that's going to be weekends that I can do these interviews on. And again, it's down to if they're available. I've reached out to a lot of people, and a lot haven't got back to me yet. Hopeful, but I'm not going to hold my breath on some of them. And some people just outright said no. So I can't force people to. I am going to be trying to get into some wormhole groups and some more low-sec groups. So hopefully you will enjoy those, guys. Also, if you've watched to this point and you are still here, massive thank you to you guys. Thank you for watching it all the way through. Really, really do appreciate it. Let me know what if you're up to this week in Eve. If there's anything, any big ops coming up that you think might be spicy, or if you've been, I don't know, you had a hell of a good fight and you want to share the BR and whatever. That'd be brilliant. I'd love to be able to talk to you and have a breakdown of it and break it down for people. But also, if you are not in the Discord, which is in the link below, and there is a 250 Plex weekly giveaway going on there. I do run it every week, or try and make sure it's running every week. So far last month we gave out 1,000 Plex. So hopefully, guys, you join there and come chat anyway and get in on that giveaway. But thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next time, and I will. I think it will probably be the end of this week, if I'm brutally honest. On the weekend that I'll be doing it. I'm going to try and get something else out in future, and I do want to do a deep dive into some of the stories of these like caps and these AT ships dying. I do want to try and do like individual videos on those, so when I've actually got hold of the person that was flying it, because I think that'd be a really good breakdown of what happened step by step, how it came, how those events, or what led up to those events. I think that'd be really cool. But thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and you have a good evening.